Good morning. Sunday morning, my favorite day of the week. uh, I guess we're still talking about Gavin Syme and his approach to his educational process of the Leos. Well, I'm going to say right up front, um, Gavin's Gavin's my hero. I honestly don't see where he insults anybody. And he's doing something that we all should be doing, and we've been, sorely amiss that we're not doing the same things he's doing. Probably because a lot of us lack that kind of confidence, that self-confidence that he has. But that self-confidence comes from the fact that he has educated himself to the Constitution of the United States. And not only that, he has a sense of which direction this country is going. He knows time is of the essence. We've been losing this battle for a long time. And, just because Trump won the presidency, we are far, far from out of the woods. There are so many embedded federal agents, judges, high ranking officials, politicians that are totally against him. And they are still in positions of power. And so, we can't just sit back and say, okay, President Trump, you do it. I don't think that's going to happen. I just don't believe he can do it on his own. He's got a lot on his plate. So, we got to take our own stand and, make ourselves known, put our faces out there, put our names out there, and actually take the initiative whenever we get a chance to see if we can approach law enforcement officers. And, every individual is different. Every police officer is going to be different. Every Department of Homeland Security officer is going to be different. FBI agent is going to be, they're all going to be different. And, and we as people need to understand that, because we also, all of us are different and we have our own approaches. But I think the key to having Gavin Syme's type self-confidence is educating ourselves to the Constitution of the United States. And there's a lot to it. There's an awful lot to it. I keep calling myself a constitutional scholar now. Not really. But on the lands rights issues, I've listened to the best minds like Angus McIntosh. I've listened to his video clips. I've researched the whole thing. So I think when it comes to lands rights issues, I got that down pat for the most part. You might be able to throw me a curve here and there, but for the most part, I got that down. The rest of it is really self-explanatory. The rest of it is very, very clear to see. When I was in college, I took the Freeman's Institute from Dr. Cleon Skousen. It was an accredited course, and it specifically dealt with the Constitution of the United States, going way, way back, hundreds of years, thousands of years before the Constitution of the United States was even existed. Okay, so it was a great class. It really got me started in understanding the Constitution. My biggest thing with the Constitution of the United States was our monetary system. No state shall allow any tender, save it be gold and silver. Wow, did that get axed a long time ago, And then the day came where I realized in my research and studies that that's how you steal from the people. You get this paper currency, this fiat and specie money, and you got a printing press, and you can just push the button, and you can allocate where you want those paper dollars to go. Yeah, you can allocate them to go to your buddies. It's going to someday give you a kickback. Put a nice little donation into a hedge fund for you. Things along that lines. It's a very sophisticated way of stealing from the American people. Well, that was the first thing in the Constitution that really got my attention, because I was always wondering how we had this boom and bust. And I was a victim of those boom and bust cycles by the Federal Reserve. And so I decided I needed to educate myself, which that brings up another point. When I was in school as a young man, high school, I understood that it was my parents' responsibility to see that I got an education. But after I got out of school, I realized that was my responsibility, and I took upon that responsibility. And I've been involved in some fairly good-sized projects. I was an engineer. I owned a mechanical company. We did some big projects in the valley. What do I call big? 300 plus houses, plumbing, air conditioning, commercial buildings, Barnes and Noble bookstores, big restaurants, things of that nature. And one thing that you'll find out really quick is when you're involved in that sort of thing, if somebody can give you a wise suggestion, you pay close attention. All right. And the only stupid question is the one that never gets asked. Okay. It's important to ask questions. It's important to be open to the truth, regardless of where that truth comes from. When I say a police officer, I automatically assume, wrongly, that they understand their job description, the Constitution of the United States. It's over a period of time that I realized, wow, where are some of these guys, where are they finding some of these guys? Because they definitely, not only do they don't understand the Constitution, they don't care either. Not all of them, but there is plenty of them out there. I've seen it plenty of times. And whose job is that for them to be educated? Correct me if I'm wrong, my way of thinking, that's their responsibility. After all, you took an oath. An oath is a very, very important thing. And it's not swearing an oath, but it is an oath. There is a difference. So you got to be really kind of careful there. But an oath is a pledge. And that pledge is to your fellow man. In this case, the Constitution is to your fellow man, it's to your God, it's to your country, it's to your own family, that you will uphold these laws of liberty and freedom. And see, what's really, really amazing is the principles of freedom are eternal. They don't just change in a day or two, a year or two, a decade or two, or hundreds or even thousands of years. They are infinite. The principles of freedom and liberty are infinite. Likewise, the principles of slavery. One of the big things, abuse of the English language, is Department of Homeland Security and the MIAC report, where and even the FBI, they started identifying certain people as sovereigns, like it's really a bad thing. The opposite of a sovereign is a slave. So you see how the English language is being abused. In our original dictionaries by, I can't remember his name, were very specific in how a word was to be used and what it actually meant and the different meanings. And the purpose of that, the very purpose of that, was so that our language could not be corrupted. Because once you corrupt the language, you got to have legalese to explain everything to the people. There you go. Because the average person's not going to understand it. Whereas the Constitution of the United States was written for an 8th grade level education. How embarrassing is that for everybody out there takes an oath of the Constitution of the United States and, I don't understand. You're not even as smart as an 8th grader. Come on. Here's the thing. I just can't wrap my mind around anybody of what I would call common or normal intelligence pledging to God to uphold a sacred document like the Constitution of the United States and not even understanding what they are pledging that oath to? I mean, doesn't that really make you wonder who would put themselves in that position? You know, maybe somebody doesn't believe in God would, or somebody that just doesn't really care. But to me, if somebody's going to be a public servant, I emphasize the word servant, who's going to be hired to do a very specific job to protect freedom, liberty, property, our civil rights, you know, a very specific job, and takes an oath to do that, then turns around, doesn't understand it, or violates it like the next day. I honestly, life, liberty, and property, that's what I was trying to say. Honestly, I can't wrap my mind around that. To not take that serious is a flippant attitude. To not take that serious is great disrespect for the American people in this country, its heritage, and its history, its founding forefathers. Very, very disrespectful. Now, I don't think, just as a guess, everybody has the depth of convictions that I have when it comes to those sort of things. To me, they are black and white. To me, they are absolutely essential for future generations, not just this generation, but the future generations. They are essential for freedom in the entire world, because America is to be a light to the world, a city on a hill. This is what our founding forefathers actually believed this, and that we would be essential in bringing freedom and liberty to everybody in this world, which we have failed miserably. There's no doubt about it. We have failed miserably. The American people have been asleep at the wheel. There's no doubt about it. And it's going to be really hard to turn it around. And I think people like Gavin Sign are doing a commendable job that we all should be doing. Now, for those that have issues with Gavin or Kelly Stewart or anybody like that, or like me, let me invite you to go and talk to Ammon Bundy, or any of the Bundys for that matter. Ryan Bundy, Ammon Bundy, Mel Bundy, Davy Bundy, Cliven Bundy, and any of the patriots that are in prison right now that have been so abused, so violated. They've been in jail for a year, over a year, way over a year now. Denied all their civil liberties, their constitutional rights. We have a judge. Well, let me back up. Go and ask them what they think about Gavin Sign, because I can tell you what they're going to say. They're going to say Gavin is one of the few people on the outside that is really fighting for them. That's what they're going to say to you. Let that sink in. And I haven't talked to him about this. Well, I know Kelly Stewart just recently talked to Ammon, but I know their heart and mind. These guys are rock solid, and they put it all on the line for freedom. So, what do you think they're going to say? They're going to say more power to Gavin. All you guys need to start doing the same thing. Okay? I take issue with myself that I don't do it more often. I've always been, well, in my outside of my younger years, I've been very respectful to what people call authority figures. I have. I extend them the respect that I want to receive. Okay, and I've been a little shy in bringing issues to the forefront to them, law enforcement. I think I got to get over that. I think I got to go over that, and I got a confession. I made friends with the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, there at the courthouse. both in Oregon and Las Vegas. I made friends with them. I made friends with the local law enforcement, sheriffs. Okay? So I confess that. Do I feel bad about that? No, not at all. I don't feel bad about that. I feel bad that I let them down. Yeah. I sincerely feel bad that I let them down, that I didn't take. I was so concerned about our rapport and our relationship and keep it friendly that I let them down. I didn't help them understand what their responsibility really was. Yeah, that's hit me really hard. I think of Jesus all the time, and Jesus was really a controversial figure. He was always inviting controversy. Okay, uh, with the religious leaders of his times, and he laid it on the line. He laid it on the line, and he insulted them. I mean, I don't know. He called them vipers. He called them hypocrites. And he said all kinds of things about them that, I mean, Jesus, you always think is this great big loving guy, and he was, but he understood what true love was all about, and he wasn't going to let anybody down by withholding the truth from them. He went out of his way to teach the truth no matter what, and that is the way that we have all got to be. Don't think for 1 second that if you know the truth, we'll say the Constitution of the United States, and we withhold it from people like law enforcement, that when this is all over with, that they're not going to wonder why you didn't take the time to help them to understand it. Don't think for 1 minute they're not going to think that way, because they will. And that's going to be on your head. It's going to be on my head that we didn't take the time, because these are eternal principles that they take with them into the next life. And we just got to quit letting them down. They are our best hope. I believe they are our best hope to fixing this country and to getting rid of these embedded communists. They are our best hope. Well, God bless everybody. Thank you.